Well, good morning, folks. How are you? Getting all kinds of opposition this week. Somebody don't want me talking. Mentor with a mouth never shuts up. Let's give folks a minute or two. I'm going to put it on mute for a second. I'm going to go make sure I have a fresh bottle of Fiji water next to me. It's going to be a short one, I promise you. Usually I say that stuff and we go on for a long, long, long time, but I don't. I don't have that much to say today. If you can believe that. Just give them a couple more minutes. Let everybody sign in. Alrighty. So it is Saturday, and obviously we had a pretty crazy technical week in the markets, and other things transpired. And I'm going to give you a couple things to consider and ponder over this weekend as we go into a new trading week and how they may impact you. What am I doing? What have I done? Um, I'm actually going to refer to something I don't make a habit of doing because I rarely ever have any kind of regrets. But I do have a regret, and we'll get into that in a moment. But last summer, over the period of the summer months, I don't know exactly when they were, but there were X spaces hosted by Kit, you know him as ICT underscore concepts. He has a wonderful community where everybody comes together and they uplift one another, they encourage one another, they remind each other that it's not easy, but it's worth doing. And I've always found it delightful to listen to everyone kind of like roll their sleeves up and show their heart. And sometimes through tears and sometimes through, making fun of yourself just to relax and realize that, it's a process. It's not easy to do what we do as traders, and all the more difficult in this present, age of corruption, manipulations, all kinds of geopolitical things. And that's why I constantly remind all of you, if you just recently started learning how to do this and you press through it and you find consistent profitability, you have done the most in terms of all of trading history. All of trading history, you chose to do this at the most difficult time to do it. So don't let it discourage you, and don't have such a high hope of expecting to do it very easily, very quickly, just go out there and start making lots of money real fast. So it's important for me as an educator, as a mentor, as someone that's done it, um, to remind you that it is not going to be easy right now. It's going to be very challenging. The markets are going to be, well, you're going to have the rug pulled out from underneath you, the roof blown off, and if you're over leveraging and you have no real risk respect, no protocol in place to rein yourself in, so that way you don't over leverage yourself, you could wind up harmed, by your own hands. And you can blame the market, you can blame this, that, and the other thing, but ultimately no one puts you in that risk but you. So I kind of like want to start this discussion today with that, because I see a lot of people pushing really, really hard, trying to get a lot of money, big trades off, and they're taking on way too much risk. And how fast these markets are moving around, the volatility is like snap, snap. You're in there already, 100 handles in the index markets. In literally seconds, the markets like silver and gold are moving hundreds of points. Like that's a dream come true for someone like myself that started in the 90s. Like we never imagined that there'd be a day like you're seeing today. And you can have your head cleanly removed from your shoulders just with a static price bounce here and there that would in a normal market condition when the volatility is not so extreme, it would just be like probably 4 or 5 points. But it's so exaggerated now. They know that there's a fevered pitch for people to get out there and trade and buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. So they keep extrapolating the measure of volatility. And that's not buying and selling pressure. That's them controlling the price and widening the disparity between where the market was moments ago to where they want to take it next. And if you don't appreciate that measure of risk, you're doing it absolutely wrong. And you're asking for the cause and effect of not knowing something and being ignorant and having a gambler's mentality and just placing a huge bet on, let's see what happens. What's going to happen is you're going to have a whole lot of regret. You're going to have a whole lot of remorse. And for some of you, this is probably going to be the shortest career choice ever by starting trading this year. Because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. But inside of this, there's lots of opportunity. Wild opportunity. So I know I probably piqued a lot of your curiosity, but before I go any further, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. I didn't do an audio check. So I just want to ask you all if you could do that now. Just give me a 5x5. Let me know you hear me. Just looking for a couple of them to let me know you guys can hear me fine. Thank you, Short Fuse. Thank you, Adam. All right, so if you recall, over the summer, Kit was hosting his normal trader roundup and whatnot. Now, I think some of them were kind of like piggybacking on an X space that I may have done, but they're not always like that. He runs his own community, he does his own thing. But sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes he would follow up, and he might do that today. And I'm actually encouraging him to do that today, actually, because I'm going to leave you with a couple questions, and I'd like to hear what all of you that are willing to share that, not just in a post back to me. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your concerns. I want to hear the lack of concern if that's what you have. Like I want to put a voice behind the sentiment in response to the questions I'm going to pose today. But over the summer, I was telling everybody that gold and silver were going to go up, and I've been telling you for years that these things were to go up. I said it emphatically in 2019. I said it emphatically all throughout 2020, and here we are. Okay, and there wasn't many people out there saying that. And now people always said, buy gold, buy silver, it's an investment, it's real money, this and that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people calling an extrapolated run up, a mega trade type thing. And I guess if you allow me to speak in a manner where I'm not trying to congratulate myself. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. And if you listen to me today, you'll hear that I'm not wearing the ICT gimmick today. Okay, I'm talking to you as Michael. I'm not trying to be the entertainer, educator, trying to get y'all worked up in a froth and stuff. The stone cold in me in here today. Okay, I just want to make sure you understand that I want to talk to you sober-mindedly, so that way you can hear me, understand what I'm saying, and don't just look at it and dismiss it as, oh, well, this guy. I want you to really understand what I'm going to speak on today. Because if you haven't been paying attention, it's going to be real obvious going forward now that you're going to see the things I told you. Okay? Don't worry, it's not a Bible study for some of you that are already worried about that. But I talked about how gold and silver were going to start going up a lot. And my private mentorship students would all be nodding there and say, yeah, he said all that stuff. He said all that. And I mentioned to you that it would be uncivilized for anyone that's holding gold and silver not to take profits. It doesn't mean go short. It doesn't mean exit all your positions. So I want you to understand that I'm not saying that I'm calling the top or that I called the top. In fact, I came out and said I was not calling the top. And that was at 102.5. I said, but you need to be taking something off if you're long. The reason why I felt inclined to talk about that and mention it, because you don't see me actively trying to put you in ideas about entering, going long or short on the metals, because the volatility is so high, and because a lot of you don't listen. You like to read into what I'm speaking, and you add things to something that I may or may not have implied or had in mind when I was speaking. Not everything I'm saying is a enigmatic riddle for you to figure out. Sometimes a language barrier exists because you're not from the States like I am, and I may use a cliche or an expression that you're not familiar with, and you may take that and read it from a translation, some kind of an application. A lot of you guys don't like when I do these Twitter spaces because there's no way for you to hear in your own language, and I don't have a compensation for that, but I never put these things on my YouTube channel. There's dozens of people out there that do that. I just don't want to put it on my channel. Okay, so you're welcome to put every Twitter space I've ever done, put it on your YouTube channel and get some grocery money off of it. I don't care. I don't care. People are going to listen to it. They're going to watch it. There'll be comments and whatever. But I think that when you understand what I was saying over the summer, the metal markets, while they are going to go up because there's a rush for a gold-backed currency, the BRICS nations have had this in mind. They've been working aggressively to try to do that, to unseat the dollar as the global reserve currency. And I don't think they're resting at all in that regard. I think that that's still very much underway. And our dollar is essentially toilet paper. Like there's really no value behind it anymore. We used to use oil as a way of propping it up, and we went over to Desert Storm, did all that stuff to control oil. We're down there in Venezuela taking their oil, and selling it, which I gotta tell you, I don't know how else to see that as we shouldn't be doing that. As a nation, we should not be doing that. That's theft. What would happen if Russia and China said, yeah, we don't like the governor of Texas, and we're not real fond of Trump, so we're just going to go down to Texas and just, we're just going to start selling the oil that Texas pumps out and Alaska pumps out. So, we're going to do it for the benefit of the Texans and Alaskans and for the American people. It doesn't sit well, and it's, to me, that's a big warning sign. And I got to remind all of you that I have never voted. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not anything, because I know that bird has a right wing and a left wing. And it's not a bird that I want to fly with. Like I don't believe either side is doing what's best for our country. And if you haven't been paying attention, just look around. Just look around, and the things that are happening globally, UK, Ireland, all these things are migrating here. They're happening here. And because this movement by the BRICS nations, they have a gold-backed currency, that in effect would absolutely make the uh, the position that's been afforded to the dollar, the greenback, as a reserve currency. What what interest, what advantage would any nations have in doing business globally with our dollar if they can do it with a currency that's backed by gold? Because ours is no longer backed by gold. When Nixon took off the gold standard, you know, what's the currency worth then? Nothing. It's an illusion. We were promised that we were going to see an audit in Fort Knox to see how much gold's there. Isn't that interesting how that just went away? Like, what's going on? Like, where's the gold? I'm not convinced there's anything in there. And if there is, it's probably 14 karat plated. That's how because everything that's been going on since 2001, I have been looking at these things critically. And because I am a person that speculates in the marketplace, I take that information and I translate into how they would utilize that in the markets. How could they manipulate the viewpoints of the average person on the street and then cause some kind of capitulation in the marketplace where the majority wouldn't expect it? And that creates opportunity. Before I subscribed to the idea that the markets are algorithmic, that's the mindset I had. It was always constantly, who's gonna get screwed over next. And I think that largely still is what goes on algorithmically. It's just done more efficiently. And just so you guys know, I know a lot of you are requesting to speak. I'm not Kit. Like I'm not going to have a conversation with any of you on my space because number one, it won't let me get through the content that I want to speak on. But you're welcome if he has a space after this one. You can say whatever you want to say. I'll hear you, whether you agree or disagree, or if whatever you want to say about it, I will be listening to it. But I don't want to have a conversation with anybody one-on-one in my space because I like to have the things that are on my mind, and because I don't have anything written down, I want to have the continuity to just come out organically. But I think that if we were to shift to a gold-backed dollar, if we went back on that as a gold standard, that would crush the movement of the BRICS nation. At least in the near term, it would make it, well, why bother? Because now let's go back to using the dollar because there's so much structure in place. Then here it is. Let's just resume this, and we won't completely abandon the BRICS nations idea, but it will just be a alternative if the dollar doesn't do, or the American government and its presidency and leadership and whatnot, if they don't follow through, then we can still use an alternative. But isn't it interesting that instead of tariffs and instead of all the things that we're being forced to do, pay, because we as the American people, we're paying the tariff. China's not paying it. All the other countries, they're not paying it. You are. And we're already illegally taxed more than we should. We pay tax on everything. And the morons in Virginia that voted for this nutcase that came out in the first week of her career, signs into legislation that there's going to be all kinds of things that's going to raise up taxation. Like, what are you talking about? I'm reading things about how states want to include a bicycle tax. If you want to ride your bicycle, you have to pay a tax every year to do that. Eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to be paying an oxygen tax just to breathe. But they don't own that. They don't own the air. I'm telling you, I said it a couple years ago, the next big control thing is going to be water. Fresh drinking water. They already created a contract for it. It's sitting just dormant. But they're moving towards that. And I talked about how 15-minute smart cities were the thing. That's the next thing you'd be watching for. Well, if you if you follow me, you saw that I put a little period so you can watch a video that I saw, and we talked about that a year and a half ago. We talked about a year and a half ago, and now look what's happening. You can't travel as you want more than this many miles, or then you're going to start being taxed. About 10 years ago, when I started seeing all of the intersections in my state have all these little cameras up, I thought to myself, this is a really good idea. Because if you think about it, 90% of car accidents occur in intersections. So to me, it would make it easy for us as a victim of an accident that we didn't have any calls in, we were a victim of. Someone runs a red light, someone does an illegal turn, something like that. Those cameras are recording everything. So I thought to myself, wow, how convenient. Like, they're doing a service for us. I didn't look at it as being intrusive. I didn't look at it as a control mechanism until years that went by, and I started thinking to myself, wait a minute, they're putting them up everywhere, like everywhere. So it's surveillance. And we're seeing now why all these things are popping up, because they're going to implement some more draconian procedures of control, taxation, and it's imprisonment. There's no other way around it. That's what it is. It's imprisonment. Like, who are they to tell us we can't travel and go wherever we want to go? We're not prisoners. We're already taxed so much. People can't even afford groceries. Their utility bill, off the charts. And they're talking about how they want to tax this, that, and the other thing. You order Amazon, well, you're going to pay even more. You're a fool, you're a moron, and you buy DoorDash, they're going to tax you even more on top of that. Why are they entitled to that? Why do they think they're entitled to that? Because what they're doing is they're squeezing all of you and me. I'm not exempt from this. But this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing these incredibly overreaching control measures that if you're just happy-go-lucky walking through this place thinking that, you're trading, you're running your little prop firm account, you're getting a little bit of money here, getting a little bit of bread in your pocket, getting some people to like you on social media and think you're living a life, you need to wake up, man. Like, you need to wake up. There's some dark, dark stuff going on. And everybody in leadership is part of it. Like, the asylum, patients are running the asylum. They're governing us. They're governing us. These mad people, these crazy people, these lunatics, these pedophiles, okay? They're all complicit. And now you have all these files being dropped, okay? I ain't looking at none of that stuff. I don't want to know what they were doing. I already knew enough to know that they're sick. These people are sick. They're demonic, and they're disgusting monsters. And it's not surprising to see how all of these people are rubbing shoulders with our quote-unquote senators, our leadership, our representatives. Let me say it that way. I don't like the term leadership because they're not supposed to be leading us. We're supposed to be telling them what we want as the people. It's the people's nation. It's not the senators. They're not kings. They're not queens. They don't have crowns. We kicked England's ass and said, no, you ain't going to govern us. To do what? To come over here and have worse. By small little samplings of the arsenic, we sipped it a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And now look what we got. 1% tax. We went to war over that. Look what you're paying right now. Look at your paycheck. Look what you have to spend to get anything while spending what you got left over. and they're taxing you more. They're preparing even more. And they're going to say that you can't do this, that, and the other thing. All of these fires, they're direct energy weapons because they want that property. They want that real estate. They want that. That's what they want to do in Gaza. That's what they want that for. That's what they want it for. The same thing they did over there in Hawaii, the same thing they did in Southern California. That's what's going on. If they burn it all out, they come in, buy it up on the cheap, pennies on the dollar, and they put in smart cities. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Why would they want to do that? Well, you might want to research that. Look into it. It's all part of Agenda 2030. We only have a few years left before we get to 2030, folks. Things are going to ramp up extremely fast. And if you're not paying attention, you may be shocked of all the things that's starting to pop up. They're popping up so fast, and it's going to affect all of you. It's going to affect me. It's going to affect everybody, whether you make a lot of money, whether you don't make a lot of money, whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you are in the United States or another country, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. So my question is what are you going to do about it? What is it you're going to do? What have you done? Are you going to not go on vacation? You're not going to travel because you're going to be taxed because the cameras are recording everything about your car, your travels. And now because you traveled more than X amount of miles in a year, now they're going to penalize you. What does that sound like to you? Did you vote for that? Did anyone that you voted for or their opposition, did they tell you out front, this is where we're going, this is what we're going to implement? No, they're just doing it. Why? Because they've seen since 2001, they can blow up buildings and tell you somebody flew some planes in there and did it. And you bit, chewed, and swallowed. Hook, line, and sinker. You believed it. I believed it too when it first happened. I believed it was outside of our own country. I don't believe that now. I can't listen to this guy. Go ahead, just go and go have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Enjoy your family. I wish you nothing but the best. But I warned you what this stuff was going to be about today. Okay. Silver market. I said that you want to take your profits because they don't have enough of it. They don't have enough of it. It's what happened when in the 80s, two brothers got together and they cornered the silver market. And when it came to realization that there wasn't enough silver to come to delivery, collapse. Now, right now, there is a fundamental, real need, a real supply and demand factor for silver. Cell phone makers and the batteries that go in them, they had discovered that the lithium that is problematic, sometimes it can leak and cause explosions and catch fire. They've been looking for alternative ways to combat that. And they discovered by laying a small little layer of silver, it prevents that from happening. So now what does that create? How many people have cell phones? A lot of people, right? How often are they buying a new cell phone? Well, if you're like me, when I was carrying it around all the time, I know you think I'm carrying my phone around a lot. I'm not. It's only when I'm sitting down and I have a moment of whatever it is I'm doing, I'm working on, I'll have a thought jump in my head and I'll post a tweet. And then there it is. I'm not sitting on there hovering over top of it. But there was a time when I was running mentorship, I constantly had it on next to me because I was looking for feedback from students. I told them, look, reach out to me on Twitter if you're having an issue with your account, whatnot. That was a way for me to have constant, immediate feedback because email wasn't efficient. But I would drop my phone and they would break. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go buy another phone. How many phones have you bought in the last 3 years? In the last 5 years? Now do that by billions of people around the world. So now we have a real supply and demand with little supply of silver. And China making the most cell phones, they're going to be doing what? They're going to be buying lots of it. So we have silver going up, as I mentioned last year, and for the last several years, it's gone up, 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 up. And I said it would be uncivilized for any of you not to take some profits here. Because we're at a range where there's a lot of institutions that have been trying to sell short silver because the paper market is manipulated. It's been manipulated and held back artificially for decades. For decades. And we went into a new frontier. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, all the way up to 121.70. Just shy of $122 on silver. Now, they're going to tell you it's because Trump picked a new Fed chairman that's hawkish, not so dovish. And they're going to want to raise interest rates. I promise you this, if you haven't learned anything, when they come out and tell you this is the reason why this is happening, that's not the reason why it's happening. That's not what it is. That's the excuse they want everybody to get on social media and talk about and say, oh yeah, this, that, that thing, because most people are lazy. Most people listening to me are going to just listen to what I'm saying. And if you like me as a person, if you like me as a mentor teaching, you just believe everything I say. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to look at the things I say and see if there's evidence to support my opinion, because that's what it is. It's an opinion. Don't believe anything you hear. Investigate it yourself. Look at it. Be an independent, critical thinker. Don't adopt somebody else's opinion, especially mine. When I was younger, I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know anything at all. But because I could make money, I thought I was smart. I was not smart. And I still don't think of myself as highly superior intellectually. I'm no smarter than anyone else. But I've been paying attention since 2001, and the things that have been transpiring, not only in our own country, but everywhere else, it's marching to this one centralization of global governance. And how can they wrestle and wrangle everybody's participation? Well, it has to be by force, because there's going to be people like me, maybe some of you, that we're just not going to be willing to submit to these types of things. I'm not going to do it. I'm just simply not going to do it. I'm not. So I'm not going to conform to it. The bottom line is we have a constitution here, okay? And your country may or may not have something similar to that. But here in the United States, we have a constitution. We have a Bill of Rights. And they have dumbed down our society here, where most of these individuals don't even know what the Constitution says or what the Bill of Rights gives them in terms of protections. They don't know it. They don't know their rights. They don't know what's going on right now is an infringement on those rights. And that's what they've been doing. They've been slowly diluting the gene pool and allowing them to feel like they're social justice warrior, getting out there, standing, get out there and make a stand. You're actually fighting for the undermining of your own rights. You don't even see it because you're stupid. They've made you stupid. They've blinded you with a sense of, well, you're significant. You're significant when you get out there in the street and act like a fool. You're significant when you burn your own neighborhoods down, your own citizens, neighbors, businesses that are in your own neighborhoods. You're burning them down. It makes you feel significant. You're justified. You're an idiot. You're doing everything they want you to do. And when silver climbs up, 120, they got a perfect excuse why they're going to do the rug pull. Because they don't have the silver to deliver that. They don't have it. What happens if silver is at these inflated prices? Because lots of purchases have been made and delivery is expected. In other words, the people that want to buy it, large conglomerates like Samsung and other cell phone companies that make the batteries that go in them, they need the silver. They need it. So when they're buying the contracts, they're not buying it to profit. They're buying it because they want to take delivery of it. There's a difference. Okay. So imagine if the market was trading at next to the close of the contract month. We don't have a January contract. Okay. Right now we're trading in March, and when March expires, the last day of that month is the final delivery day. Where if you're trying to take delivery of the silver, that's the day you got to get it. And then we roll over to May. We're in an area where they have to get control over this thing, because if they don't have the silver to deliver it, these exchanges like the COMEX, they do things like this. And it's not widely known, okay? But this is what really goes on. If there isn't a way to deliver it, okay, if you are buying a commodity, whatever commodity that is, it's on the exchange, then we're going to use silver as the example. If there is no commodity or supply to deliver to those individuals that want to actually receive it, they bought the contract, they assumed the responsibility and risks of it, all the risk of holding that contract and the fluctuations in price. If they bought it and they made money on the contract valuation, that's one thing, okay? But they're not in it for that. They're in it to actually receive all of the silver in their hands, because they want to use it to manufacture that little layer of silver in the battery on the cell phones. So that way the batteries don't overheat and blow up and cause fires. So what happens when there is no supply? What actually happens is the parties exchange through cash. And they'll say, okay, look, we don't have it. So it's trading at 120. Will you take 110? Will you take $100? Because they don't have it to give. So they start bartering. And if you don't understand what this really means, is they're going to control the justification why the price goes down when it's really algorithmic. That's what was going on. It was controlled demolition. But from the exchange perspective, where there's a large conglomerate user, now I'll give you an example. This is a real world example, and you can go watch a video of Mr. Williams, Larry Williams. He actually did this. He got into the sugar market, and he bought lots and lots of sugar, and he bought most of it. He cornered the market. His words, it was legit. And he literally was selling his his sugar, table sugar, white sugar, the poison stuff they put in everything to feed cancer and whatnot. He was selling the sugar at a higher price than it settled at on the contract month he took delivery of. So he received and took delivery of the sugar, but he was selling it at a higher price. What happens if it's you that has to supply the commodity? See, he was taking delivery of it. He wasn't supplying it to the market as a supply. He was a consumer buying it. He wanted to buy because he felt it was a worthwhile investment for him to just keep buying. He cornered it, actually took most of the sugar on delivery on that contract month. Not my words, that's his words. He did it, okay? So what actually happens at the exchange level is the parties start bartering on the cash market. We can't deliver the silver, so we'll just pay you in the difference in cash. So panic sets in. Well, I can't get the silver. I need the silver. So what they'll do is they'll drop the price lower, and they'll barter, and they'll control the spot price like that. That's the perfect justification why it's going down. So you have that controlled demolition of price going lower, 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 and it just smashes everything. But it creates the perfect justification for why they can get silver back down into a controlled price range. Now, you're not going to see that in trading books. You're not going to see somebody get out there on the internet and explain here in the chart. But that's what's going on, folks. Okay, I told you before. A lot of you guys out there, you simply don't know shit. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. And it's important for you to know that we're in an age of so much corruption. When have you ever seen a market literally lose $250,000 inside of 2 days? All you had to do, all you had to do is be short one contract, and you won the Robbins Cup. You're done. One trade, you're done. It's over. It's done. Now, let me tell you what my regret is. Thursday, I was thinking to myself, I got an unction. Okay, and I told you that if you were watching my other channel, you've heard me talk about this. So I promise you, I'm going to respect the atheists in here. I'm not going to talk about the things that I could talk about out of respect for you. Okay, because this is not the venue for that. But just so you know, I got an unction on Thursday. It was like a strong intuition, like a strong tug inside of me that I should have bought a lot of 85 put options on silver. And it was nagging at me. It was nagging at me. And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And man, I've been asked all the time, have I ever regretted not buying Bitcoin? Hell no. That's the beast system. I'm not going to do anything with that. I won't care. I don't care what it does. I will never, ever, 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 ever trade crypto. Never. Absolutely not. I've never regretted not buying that. I do regret not buying 85 puts because they were dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. And on Monday, they're going to be ridiculous. You know, I could have made millions of dollars just over a weekend and not lose any sleep over it. So that's one regret. I can't look back and say, I regret I missed that move. I don't have any missed move regrets. I have regrets of not managing the trade or getting out when I should have, or holding too much of a position and getting hurt. Those types of regrets, obviously, that comes with anybody. But I've never regretted missing a move. But I did miss silver. I had an unction to buy 85 puts. They were far out of the money puts when we were trading at 120. I was saying to myself, man, it's so unlikely, and nobody's expecting that. And I'm telling you all to take some profits. If you look at the daily chart, there's some inefficiencies down in there, and I thought to myself, they could drop it down before March's expiration. Even if I got 14 days still left, of the time decay is going to be ridiculous. But still, if they're going to pull against the people that are long, that would be a wonderful way of doing it. Now, am I saying I saw them dropping that much? No, I just said it to you. I was expecting it to come down some, but not to see them do it all in one 24-hour span of time. So where am I getting with all this? Tighten your tinfoil hats up a little bit, okay? We are at a time where they don't give a rip what you understand about them anymore. They literally just dropped all those files. There it is. And everybody is in it. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to talk about it on social media. You're going to say they're disgusting, whatever. And the whole time they're doing things and having oligarchs that were not elected influencing the outcomes of how our countries are ran, what we can do as the people, what limitations are placed on us, We don't vote for these things, but it's all happening. They're making a mockery of everything. Every sanctified thing from marriage to governance to representation and overreach. They're doing it and they're shoving it down your throats and saying, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? Nothing. So what? You're going to stand out there on the side of the road with some signs and say, oh, this, that, and the other thing. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They're doing whatever they want to do. This is their world. This is their world. We are all vermin to them. We need to be exterminated. And if they can profit off us or use us like batteries, that's what the Matrix is showing you. That's what they do. They use us as a consumable commodity. And once we use up our usefulness, we're discarded. And you need to be paying attention because it's coming fast, really, really fast. And what's that mean? It means that we're going to start seeing crazy levels of manipulation in the marketplace where I told you, what happens if they take it away from us? See, that was a controlled demolition. It wasn't a sudden just, it's gone. It dropped 20 full handles in silver. That would be a lot. But what happens when you start seeing that? What happens when you're in the market and you start looking at your little squiggly 1 minute, 15-second charts or whatever it is you're looking at, looking for an ICT PD array, and all of a sudden, price ain't updating anymore because it's off the chart, lower. The whole price axis on the right-hand side doesn't reflect it because it's off the chart down there. What are you going to do? You're going to start sleeping good at night with that? You're going to feel empowered? You're going to feel like it's time to start doing 15 contracts because your prop firm says you can? Or is your ass going to clam up like that and think, oh no? Because we are in the last bastion of free enterprise, folks. We are in the perfect business. There's nothing better than trading. There's absolutely nothing better than speculation with a model that's consistent and you have control over your emotions and psychology and you're not wigging out over everything. There's nothing better than this. And you think with all the stuff that they're doing all around the world, you honestly think that they're not going to come for this too? It's coming. That day of reckoning is coming. The closer we get to 2030, they have to have all these things in place. They've sworn to a agenda that this has to happen. They need this in place, which makes me wonder, why is it that year? What's so special about that year? Think about that. Why does everything have to be in place by that year? And why is all the nations around the world walking in lockstep with it? You may think you're listening to your leaders that you voted for, and you think they're not part of that. Look around. Look closely. You will start seeing them doing that. They don't care who sees it now. They only have a little bit of time. They're going to still do everything they're going to do, and they're going to do it roughshod. And it's going to affect the markets. That's my point. That's my point. It's going to start causing moves in the marketplace that are going to be wildly extreme, exaggerated, and no one's talking about this. And I warned you about this 2 summers ago. I said, think about this now. Think. What are you going to do if you can't trade? What are you going to do? What alternative do you have? Now, some of you are going to be like, well, maximum pessimism. It's going to kick in like, well, at that point, I don't care, bro. This is all I got left. That's not true. That's not true. But you need to be thinking what you can do, what kind of other hustle you can do Don't be sitting back just assuming that trading is going to be like, I'll give you a perfect example. There's lots of influencers right now that are making lots and lots of money. These prop firms are making lots and lots of money. But what do you think is going to happen when the market caves in and becomes next to impossible to trade? Or, I know it doesn't seem likely, but what happens if they just say, you're no longer allowed to do it unless you're a professional? You know, that little thing you have to do every year with your brokerage firm? You have to sign a form and do it every single year. Are you a professional or a non-professional? You don't see it coming, but it's going to be able to say, you're not a professional, so you can't participate. Oops. But my optimal trade entry. But my zircon model. So what? You're going to do it their way, or you're not going to do it at all. See, right now, everybody's just making their money, getting paid out. They're getting little affiliate commissions, buying out cars, buying stupid stuff, completely oblivious to what's coming. But I promise you, these same people are going to be on their live streams crying with real tears, complaining about, dude, who would have known? Like, who could have saw this coming? You all know. And I'm not saying this so you can mock them later on, but I'm telling you, they're all going to feel stupid. Because there's going to come a day, real soon, that these same influencers that are making hand over fist, and then folks, let me explain something to you. You add up all the influencers out there, all of them, and all the affiliate marketing, all that stuff, they don't come close to me. Period. So I'm not looking at any of them with envy. I could care less. They're finally getting a little bit of money. Okay, a little bit of money. A couple million here, a couple million there, that's nothing. When their meal ticket is done, they will be nothing again. And it's going to come down on them like a weight. And it's going to smother them. And they're going to take themselves to their live streams and they're going to be crying to you because they're not going to be able to wrestle with, they can't do it anymore. People aren't going to be paying for these prop firms because the market will not be afforded to them. The positions will be too astronomical in terms of risk. You can't see this, but I see it coming. I see it coming. Now, there's a lot of you that are going to say, you know, this is wild. Like this he's nuts. Okay. You're welcome to that opinion. You're welcome to that opinion. And if you get on, if Kit does a space and you think that that's what this is, I'll listen to you. I'll probably laugh at you and I ain't going to ridicule you. I ain't going to troll you. You're entitled to believe that. But who else was saying you better take some of that money before silver dropped $200,000+ a contract? I said this in every major move, and I'm behind a paywall with a legion of people that can come out and say he's lying. I did it in Bitcoin. I did it in all the other commodity markets, in currencies, in the dollar index. For 30+ years, I've been doing this stuff, folks. And I'm going to tell you something, okay? And I need you to really listen to this. I have never seen a market environment like we have right now. And I studied decades of market activity before I even started trading in 1992. I paid for data that reached back as far as data can go. And there has never been a market environment like right now. And you listen to these 20-year-olds that come in and say, bro, you know, this, that, and like they're stupid. They're stupid. They literally think they know everything. And I know what that feels like because I was a 20-year-old making lots of money thinking I knew everything. You make a couple $1,000s and you think you know everything. Mr. Kid Ego, you're going to tell somebody, listen here, old man. Listen here, old man. This old man paid more taxes in the last quarter of last year than you'll ever make in your friggin' life. Okay? That's the way it is. That's the way it is. But you listen to these people that are influencing you, And they're trying to get you revved up to worship them. I don't want you worshiping me. I don't want you listening to me and believing just because I said it. I want you to take the initiative and say, let me just take a look at this. Let me just look into this and see if there's anything that I need to be concerned about. That's all I'm asking you to do, folks. I'm here in a non-monetized setting. If you're listening to this, it's because I've given permission for everybody that wants to do it. They can put it up there on their Spotify. They can put it up on their YouTube channel. They can do whatever they want to do. They can monetize it. I don't care. I just got to get it off my chest. Nothing but my genuine concern towards you is the only motivation for me to speak to you like this. But there's nobody else out there saying these things. And I'm telling you, I couldn't sleep last night. This is what's on my mind. And I wrestled with not even talking about it at all. And it's like gnawing in my gut. Like, you better say it. You better say it. It's the same feeling. I'm going to be honest with you. It's the same feeling that I had in July of 2019 and in October of 2019. When I came out there, I was the only person that came out and said something wild, something worse than 2011 is coming. And you better get yourself ready because it's going to affect everything. And what happened? March of 2020, the whole world stopped. And they said, you can't do what you want to do. You can't do this. You can't do that. You better wear a mask and you better stay 6 feet separated. That was a beta test. That was an IQ test. That's what that was, folks. But I didn't understand why I was being pushed inside of me to say it. As I was saying it, I had no idea where that stuff was coming from. But everything happened. That same feeling is the same thing I had all night long. And I told you there's going to be a day that you're probably not going to be able to trade. Something's going to affect it. Something's going to interrupt it. Something's going to prevent it. And I told you when that happens, I don't have an answer for that. And I honestly believe that we're now crossing that. We're at the precipice. We're tipping over right now. And because they are doing everything in our faces, almost daring us, do something about it. I'm not saying uprise against your government. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying go out in the streets and do any kind of protesting. My question to you all is, what's your response to it all? Like, what's your response? Like, how are you going to navigate your world if they tell you you can't leave your neighborhood only so many times, so many miles in a year, or they start taxing you? Because that's what's coming, folks. It's draconian. It's worse than that novel 1984. If you've never read or listened to the audiobook of 1984, honestly, you need to do it this weekend. That's absolutely mandatory reading. Because while that's fiction, they're using it as an instruction manual. They're using it as a standard operating procedure and then doing worse. We have midterms coming up in November. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think what they're creating is, right now it's cold. And those people up there in Minnesota, majority of them are being paid to be there. It's already proven. It's already been proven. I know you guys, some of you people are just, you're respecting me as the mentor, so you don't say really what you want to say. And you don't believe what I just said. You believe that they're organic. These are people, these are homegrown people. They're just fed up with the government. They're fed up with ICE. They're fed up with this. Listen, I'm not defending ICE. I'm not defending Trump. I'm not vilifying them. I don't have a horse in that race. I just know what this really is. They want you and I to pick a tribe. They want us to pick a side. Because if you're on a side, you're on the chessboard. You're in the game. I'm not either one. I'm outside of it. I have objectivity. I can see it for what it is. I'm not going to be someone in the streets running around, videotaping, getting up in people's faces. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it. My family isn't going to do that. I don't think that you should do it. It doesn't do anything but cause problems for you, and it forwards their agenda, division. My opinion, my solution is don't comply. Just don't comply. Don't make a spectacle of yourself so that way you're going to be made an example, because that's what they're looking for. They want to crush any form of opposition. Regardless of what. Okay, let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Okay, let's say that what I think's happening happens this summer. It's really, really cold up there. People are getting paid $12,000 a week by billionaires all around the world to do what they're doing. I don't care if you don't believe me. Do the research. It's readily available, and they're not even hiding it anymore. They know people are so divided. They're so bent out of shape and they're struggling financially. Look how expensive things are. You don't have a skill set. You didn't go to college or you dropped out. You are not highly motivated. You don't have a business. And you have low self-esteem. And someone says, I'll pay you $12,000 a week to go act a fool. Oh, I'll do that. Sure, yes. Who wouldn't do that? As a younger teenager, I might have considered doing that. And I'm going to be real honest. As a younger teenager, Michael, I may have done that. There was a time when I was just being a punk. And I may have done something like that. But because of my age and my maturity, I can't imagine doing that now. Even if I wasn't in the position I'm in life right now, I can't imagine doing that because it just goes against everything on who I am as my character. I'm not that type of person. And I see what's going on is a form of division. And I expected it during Biden, but I saw it coming in Obama. I said, we're going to start seeing military in the streets. My kids looked at me like, you're crazy. My wife even told me like, okay, listen, you've never been political. Where is this coming from? I said, I don't even know. But I'm telling you, we're going to see the military in the street. He gets in office. He starts making a move on the smelters. That means the people that are manufacturing ammunition. And I ramped up buying guns. And I started really building my collection then. If you don't own a firearm, I think you should have one. It's your right to have one. Okay? And even if I lived in another country where it's not so quote unquote legal, I'd have one. I would. I don't care. It'd be buried somewhere in a hollow of a tree somewhere. It's going to be where I can get to it. There's going to be a day coming where they're going to say you can't do something, and you're going to be met with a choice. Is that in your best interest? Is that best for your safety and security? And I know what my decisions are going to be. I know what my family's decisions are going to be. But we're not going to get out there and act a fool and be part of the tribe mentality. You against us against you. Because that's what these billionaires around the world, these Luciferians, okay, that's what they are. That's who runs the algorithm. That's who put it all together. That's what they're doing. Everything is ran algorithmically. And they're trying to run us the same way. But we are organic. We have free will. We have a decision-making mechanism that says, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. There's no override for that. So how they force that on us? Control. That's why they tax us. If they can print money and give it to other countries in the United States, just blow millions and billions of dollars every single week, they're just throwing money around, then we're overtaxed and we don't need to pay taxes. So why are they taxing us? For control. You don't listen to us, you don't pay your property tax, we'll take your home. Trump said, I want lower housing costs. Now he gets in this term, I don't want prices to go down, I want them to go higher. What What is that? Nobody can afford the homes now. Nobody can afford the interest rates on the mortgages right now. And who's suffering? The people that aren't making any more money, but their home values are going up. Wow, if I was selling my house and other people could afford it, that'd be a wonderful thing. But now what are you expected to do? You're expected to pay the state rent through property taxes. And if you don't pay that property tax, we call rent, your home that you own, that you already paid for, and you paid taxes when you purchased it, we're going to take your home. We're going to give you a year to pay that money back because that's a mafia shakedown. And we're going to give somebody an opportunity to hold a lien, a tax lien against that property for the amount owed in taxes for 1 year. And if you don't pay it, they get your house for what they paid for in that tax lien plus the fees. That's a tax lien certificate. And you don't think that they're doing that to most people? They're securing a lot of properties like that. The people that are involved in the government, they do that. The lists are so hard to get. Yeah, there's lists out there that people can do it. And I've done all that stuff. The point is, the best properties, the best things, the government's doing that. And now you have BlackRock going around for the last decade or so, accumulating all these houses. And now the guy from BlackRock, he's now the leader, the president of the World Economic Forum. And the new Fed chairman that Trump just tapped the shoulder of, look into where he's from. You're worried about he's hawkish, he's dovish. No. He's from the Bilderbergers. He's World Economic Forum. He's part of the club. The dude, it's checkmate. Okay, that's where we're at. That's what's coming. Like, they are going to put serious stuff in motion. And when the weather breaks, and the weather's a little bit nicer, they won't have to pay so much to get people out there. And other people are going to want to be out there because they're struggling even more. And when the fair weather protesters come out, and they're in every state, it's going to be crazy. And what is everybody going to want to have happen? Because I already hear some of my neighbors saying it. Man, if they start doing that around our houses, I hope they lock us down, put us in martial law, and clean up everything. What did you just say? What did you just say? You just said, institute martial law, take away my liberties and my freedoms, and take away my constitutional right and my Bill of Rights away from me, and curfew me. They're creating the problem because they already had the solution in mind: martial law. And a lot of you young guys out there and young gals, you just don't see it coming. You hear an old man talking. That's all you hear. You hear somebody talking, and you don't see any relevance to you. You're just trying to get your bread. You're just trying to get your bread, bro. Fools. Fools. You have no idea what's coming. Completely oblivious. Only worried about the right now, today. Have no idea what's coming down the pike. They're bringing in people from other countries to destabilize Western culture, civilized nations that don't have these problems, and now they're destabilizing them. There's a faction, a division, you versus us versus you, when it was never there before. We got past all the white versus the black. In the country here, is there racism? Absolutely there's racism. But it's not extreme like it used to be. When I was growing up in our neighborhood, it was straight up racism. They hung Confederate flags off their houses. They drove around on their cars. It was hanging off the back of their pickup trucks. They made it very loud and proud. They didn't care. That's the way it was. It wasn't like that. That's why I had to hide all my friendships with my black friends, where breakdancing came up when I was a kid. Rap came up when I was a kid. And I had to hide that stuff from my family because they weren't gonna tolerate that. But I wasn't going to stop being friends and doing the things I wanted to do. I didn't give a shit. I was going to do what I wanted to do. So I didn't listen to my mom and dad, well, grandparents is called that way. Bottom line is that I didn't want to listen to them just because they thought of that way of thinking. That means I subscribe to it. So we got past all the white and black stuff. So now what they got to do? They got to create something worse. Let's bring in an extreme view of culture, third world nation thinking. Let's flood the nations with that stuff. Where these people that are coming in, they're not trying to assimilate. They're going to shit on the sidewalk. They're going to come after your people, rape them, do whatever you want them to do because they don't have any usefulness for laws. They have no concern for being civilized. They've never been held to that standard before. So now they're coming in here to get in all these subsidies. It's a perfect storm. And we're watching these people come in, get a free ride. Get a free ride while you're struggling just to make ends meet. They got the best health care. They get a free cell phone. They get money, free housing. And when they do something wrong, they don't go to prison. You drive too fast, 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, they're going to screw your ass to the wall. All by design, because they want you to look around and take inventory. They're getting away with murder, literally. And here you are trying to do the right thing. You pay your taxes. You don't like it, but you're doing it. You go to work. You hate your boss. You put up with fucking Carl. You're putting up with all the bullshit that comes along with it. You're putting up with all of it, but you're still doing it on the straight and narrow. You're paying your taxes. You're doing everything legally. And they're telling you they're going to tax you more. How about fucking taking some of the subsidies away? How about that? How about a timeline that says, you know what? You're on welfare. It's going to upset some of you. I don't give two shits about it because I grew up on welfare. Okay? If you are trying to live off like leeches, like parasites, off the taxpayer's dime, and you have no incentive of bettering yourself and taking an initiative to get off your fucking lazy asses and do something to make money on your own and support your own fucking kids, you're a piece of shit. You deserve nothing beyond a realistic. Now, what's realistic? 9 months to a year. I think somebody that was on subsidies, I think at the maximum 1 year. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. If you have another kid, fuck you. You're off the program. Forget about it. And if you think differently, go fuck yourself. You're the problem. You are the problem if you think that way. You see all these opportunities that's been afforded to everyone. Everyone. And what have you been doing? If you're on subsidies, you don't want to change that. You don't want to upset that apple cart. You're getting free housing or next to nothing in terms of rent. You don't want to mess that up. And all it takes is me to vote a certain way or not vote a certain way, and I can keep mooching off of society like this. And you call that living. Wow. Wow. You sold yourself short and you bought the whole program that they want. They want lazy mentality so that way you can think, yeah, I don't have to have a job. I'm getting all my money given to me. I don't have to pay that much in rent. So think about the perfect illusion they've created for you. If you're on subsidies, your rent's not extreme, even though you're getting a little bit of money, but you're getting grocery money, cell phones given to you, healthcare is covered. You have the best healthcare. You have the same healthcare that these senators have. That's top notch. It costs me $3,000 a month to have something equivalent to that. How about that? How about that? But you think you're a king and a queen, sitting around thinking, man, this is great. I don't want to mess this up. But you're watching live streamers proving that they can make millions of dollars a year. And they ain't got to be on welfare. They ain't got to ask for a subsidy. They ain't got to worry about if they want to have more kids, can they get another tax credit for their kid? They ain't got to worry about hiding their father or their children in the household, but claiming they don't know where he's at. And ain't black folks doing this too. It's everybody. White, Indian, Chinese. Everybody knows that it's a free-for-all over here, and they've been piling them in. The stuff that they found in Minnesota, that's going on in every fucking state. Every state! It's been going on a long time. Long time. Decades of it. And they don't give a shit. That woman they just put in the office down in Virginia, she's already making legislation to protect, so there's no reason to be fearful of doing it down there. Think about that. It's crazy town. It's straight crazy town. And I know that the weaker people out there are going to get nuts over this stuff, and they're going to start doing things illegal. They're going to go out in the streets and cause a problem. They're going to harm other people. They're going to do stupid stuff. They're going to pull a 1776 moment and regret it. And regret it. They have things you're going to see this summer. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to start seeing the things that they have in place where they've used in other countries on other people. They have these devices where they're literally able to basically microwave you standing in the spot you're at right now. It's so much pain. It feels like you're being microwaved. It feels like you're standing on the surface of the sun. That's the kind of stuff they're going to be putting on people. Okay? They want you to understand. And the clearest way of doing that is letting people get so upset they go into the streets. And then they will use these devices on them. And if you're contemplating joining that kind of stuff, either side of the war, whatever tribe or side you pick, it's the losing side, folks. You're not going to change anything. The outcome is what they want. You're just pawns. You're going to be used for the movement to keep it going. And the end result is lockdown. That's what it is. It's martial law, complete and utter control. You better do it this way. You better do it that way. And when we go to a digital currency, you can't buy or sell unless it's approved. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do? Because that's what they're marshaling us into. They're just corralling us smaller into the fence. And everybody's distracted by those people are the problem. It's our governments and the asinine things that they're trying to implement. That their overlords, which are Luciferians, they're perpetuating these things. And you're going to see them boldly doing things in the marketplace. That's going to be crazy. Crazy. And they don't care what your opinion of it is. They don't care. They don't care. They're going to manipulate the market so bad, so aggressively. They're going to take the last bastion of you being able to do whatever you want to do and how you want to live, because there's nothing else left, folks. Real estate used to be hot, used to be great. It's not as easy to do it anymore. There isn't a lot of people out there that have lots of money that want to buy homes with the interest rates they have right now. Most people can't even afford their home right now. They've been moving other members of their their family into their homes just to make their ends meet. I support other members because they can't keep up with their bills. And I have to listen to family members, the husbands of my family members, cry to me, say that they can't support their own family and they feel less of a man. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. I understand that. I'm the one dishing it out. I'm not complaining about it, but I see it firsthand in my own family tree. A lot of you think that I'm walking around here with rose-colored glasses and thinking, he's rich, he can't see it from our perspective. You have no idea. You have no idea. If I didn't see it this way, I wouldn't be here on my Saturday talking to you, ruffling your feathers, making you think about what you need to be doing. And I'm aware I don't have the answers for it. But if you're going to be blindsided because you just didn't know it's coming, it's worse. I get a lot of people all the time, in the comment section, and I'm certainly going to get, comments sent to me on my YouTube channel in whatever video they can leave a comment on. And they'll say, if you think that there's a way out of this because of the way you believe, then why buy stuff? Why stock up our house? Why get food? Why get water? Why get extra oil filters and oil for your cars? That way you can do your own oil changes. Because I don't know everything, folks. I know a lot of you really think that I have some superior intellect and I'm not a genius. Like I'm not that smart. But I know what I see coming, and the same unction I had in 2016 when I told you Trump was going to get elected, and I'm going to watch and see what's going on. I want you to think about something. I am going to go back on my word here and say something because I want you to understand something. In Daniel, there's a verse that talks about how this person is going to come on the scene. He's going to have so much influence over everything and everyone, and he's going to be lawless. He's going to do whatever he wants to do. He's not going to care what anybody says, and he's already a rich person, and he's described as a stout man, and he's unlike anybody else before him. Okay, so he's a different kind of a person, and his wealth. He's amassed this wealth because he believed in the God of fortresses. And if you do a little research on that, it's the equivalent of building buildings or real estate. And I'll let you connect the dots on what you think about that. But there's something going on right now that people need to be aware of. Okay? And it's not just a local backyard type thing. It's something global. Global. And if you can't see it, to me, that's astonishing. And if you haven't made your house ready, that means, start living your life beyond just what you can afford and spend money on for the likes of someone else that you don't even ever meet. When you see that little heart underneath people's posts on X, mine included, what do you really clicking that for? When I click it, I want the people to know that I felt what they posted was either funny, it was entertaining, it made me smile, or they may be reaching out because they just want someone just give me a moment with you because I have respect for you. Do you see me? Do you see me talking to you? Because I don't ever see you talk to me. And I know sometimes people just want to have a connection like that. And I'll put a little heart on it. That's not for you to go out there and say, ICT, Michael, he replied to me with a heart and make a big to-do about it. That makes me uncomfortable because I'm just a person. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not special. Okay. So it kind of ruins the whole thing when you do that. That's why I don't like to do a lot of the things that you want me to do in this relationship between mentor, influencer, and someone that's interested in the person being that individual, namely me. But when you press that heart button or that like, what are you hoping to get out of that? So I'm going to tell you from the perspective of an influencer, someone that's got a large following. There's a lot of people out there that will do pretty much anything to get to where I'm at because I can sell my name, I can do affiliate marketing, and I could be making millions of dollars every single month. And I turn them all down. No one has an affiliate with me because I don't want to be owned by anyone. I'm not an employee. I don't want anybody having control over me. God has control over me, but that's it. And sometimes I wrestle with him and I have to repent and just like I'm going to be done with this. I said words I didn't want to say when I first started. But when I'm emotionally attached to a lot of you because I know beyond just your screen name. I know a lot of you. Now, I haven't had dinner with you, but I've heard your life story. You've communicated with me over a number of years. You've kept in touch with me. I've seen your face. I've seen videos where you literally sat down with me with your family, weeping and telling me that you've gained a measure of lifestyle, struggling through what you learned from me, and now you've attained something. And your family's proud of you. You're proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. I have a connection with a lot of you. Okay. And those things are not, you're not of you that don't know that or don't see those things. You're not entitled to that. That's my reward. You didn't do anything to earn those testimonies. That's just for me. Me, my wife, my children, we get to watch these people share their life with us in a safe way where they feel comforted that I'm not going to go out there and blast them out there and say, look at this is what they did. I have so many other successful students that just don't want to be in the limelight. They don't want to be out there as a spectacle. But for the people that want to be like that, and when you're aspiring to do those types of things, when you're liking my posts or liking other people's posts, take a moment and think about, why are you doing that? What's the motivation behind that? What are you hoping that you'll gain from doing it? What's the return on that investment of you pushing that little button? What's going on? I'm going to tell you from this side of the influencer, okay? 90%, if not more. I've often thought about doing this, but I just feels, I don't know. I wouldn't be received the right way, but I've always thought about how I could go on my YouTube channel and go into the comment section, because you can comment on my videos. You see your comment, but you don't see anybody else's comment. But I see everyone's comment. I see everybody's comment. I read every single one of them. And I do it 2 times a day. I'll do it in the morning. Once I get caught up, I'll go through and I'll read them. And then before I go to bed, I usually go through them again. And it's listed by the most recent one. So I know where I cut off from the morning and where the other ones ended, most recent comment. And I don't like them because you can't see it. It has to be allowed to be posted to the channel. And sometimes YouTube lets 1 or 2 comments get through. I don't let them comment. I don't let those comments go on there. But there's one on the most recent live stream I did. One comment. It's this little flame the guy's doing like it's fire, right? I didn't authorize that. Like I didn't allow that there, but it's there. Okay. So when I take that away, don't be offended. I just don't want to be continuously doing the same thing. I didn't put that there for other people to like it, but other people are liking it too. But my question is what do you think my opinion of all of you are when you like my post? Because this is what I see. As an influencer, I want to know if you resonate with what I'm doing. I am not looking for you to puff me up and worship me. Every other influencer out there wants that. Some of them are my students, and I get it. But I want you to understand this. If you're not content with your own success and you need other people to fluff you up because of likes, because of talking about you, what's it really going to take for you to be content with success? If you're making millions of dollars, and some of you are, and you're still out there looking for validation, why? Why are you doing that? Why can't you be thankful, appreciative, and content with the success that you're having right now? Like you need everybody constantly blowing smoke up your ass? Is that what you really need? Like, is that what you need? Because a lot of you young people, that's what you think that this is all about. You want to be looked up to because you think that status of significance is greater than just being successful and not needing to go to work because you can carve out your own paycheck. And I'll say it in plainer terms. You're so down and out and miserable and depressed right now. Your sense of self-worth is so low that even if you were making millions of dollars a month, you would not be content because you want others to see you as worth it. That's what you want. And I'm telling you, as someone that's gone through that whole thing, that never gets satisfied. There's never enough likes. There's never enough attention. There's never enough pomp and pageantry around you as an entity online, as a personality. There's never going to be enough if that's what it's all about. You're never going to be satisfied. You're never going to be happy with that. So don't start there. When I did that ends playlist on YouTube, I was hoping, and I get a lot of feedback on that playlist from the videos. They're the most wholesome comments out of all of them. Out of all the videos I've ever posted, the most down to earth, the most appreciated by me as the author of it, producing the content. They're the most heartfelt and sometimes tear inducing, because I can feel it when you sit there and you tell me that this really makes sense. Like you stripped it down to, I don't have to worry about making a lot of money, because now when I thought about it, I never thought about just paying my rent with this, and that's all I got to start with. If I start, it makes it easier. And then 6 months later, they come back and look, I'm doing it, and I have enough money to cover the entire year of rent, and I'm now saving for a down payment on a house, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and it's so much better because I was putting so much emphasis on needing to do bigger and better than I needed to. I got caught up in all this stuff. I got to make trades like ICT. I got to make as much money as this person over there, or I'm not winning. I'm not succeeding. And to me, that's unfortunate. And I'm thankful that I did that playlist, because it allows people to have a realistic beginning point and not place so much emphasis on being superior right from Jump Street, right from the beginning. Having a very realistic approach to where you're going to start and where you're aiming for first. Not, I want to make $1 million. I want to make millions of dollars. I want to be super rich. Of course, that could be a byproduct of everything, but that shouldn't be the number one milestone. Like, that's the first rest stop in your pursuit. Nothing is good enough until that's not good. And I'm saying these things because I want you to know going forward, it's going to be harder. And it doesn't sound encouraging. Usually I come out here and I rabble rouse and get you all worked up and get you pumped up, ready to run through a wall, because you're like, man, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. I want you to just be aware that we now cross the Rubicon, and it's going to be, we're never going back. Let's put it that way. We're never going back to regular. That's obvious. And they have so many things in place now. They're going to make a run on everyone that's making money by their own efforts in the marketplace. And they've already contemplated taxation on unrealized profits. If you never heard about that, do research on that, because they're trying to get that going too. That means you got to pay taxes on positions you haven't even closed out yet. Now, I'm going to say this in closing. Imagine you were long silver from 55, 64, 75, 86, and you ran all the way up above 102. And then they had laws in place, legislation in place that says it's time for you to pay taxes on those unrealized gains right now. And you paid the taxes because you want to be a law-abiding citizen. You don't do anything wrong. And silver did what it did. You don't see a problem with that? Because that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. So you'll pay taxes on losses. You don't think you're going to be driven mad with that? Going crazy? Losing everything? Not being able to pay for your mortgage anymore? Or the property taxes on it? So BlackRock can come in and scoop that up too? 2030, you're not allowed to have private property. Research that agenda. It's a World Economic Forum agenda. That means every nation is walking in lockstep to get that stuff going on. Do not believe there's a couple countries. No. No. Just like they have the tribe mentality in our streets right now, in our countries, there has to be, quote unquote, opposition countries. Otherwise, it's not as effective of winning over the thoughts and minds of others. I can't go and say, well, I'm going to move to Russia. I'm not doing that. I'm not thinking to myself, I'm going to move to China to avoid this. No, I'm not doing that either. I'm not looking at other countries and saying it's a better country because it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. But my question I wanted to raise to you is, what's your thoughts? Because I'm sure some of you are smarter than I am. You're probably gonna have some ideas I don't have yet, or probably never will, as a response to some of these things if it came to your front door. If it ends up happening in your country, in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods, if you will, how are you going to work with this? Like how are you gonna combat it? What type of response are you going to have? What happens if trading is taken away from you? Maybe not forever, but let's say for a length of time that you're going to feel it. What would you do in that situation? What happens if you can't make ends meet for 6 to 9 to 12 months, or maybe a little bit longer than that because of disruption? What are you going to do in that situation? I mean, you're making money right now with your job. You're making money with your trading. You're making money with your affiliate codes. Wonderful. I'm thankful. And I hope in Jesus' name that you have more of that. But what happens if it gets disrupted for a length of time? Do you have enough in your house that would keep you sustained for up to a year? If not, why not? Because it doesn't seem reasonable. There's too many other things that's more fun to share on the internet. Look at this car I just got. Let me just unveil my car. Look at this. Put some hearts underneath my post. Let me get some engagements. Here's the watch I just spent too much money on. Here's the shoes I just spent too much money on. Here's a Pokemon fucking card that I just spent way too much money on. That's where we're at, folks. What's those things? What were they called? Oh, it's escaping me. Help me, Lord. NFT? NFT, I think it was. I don't know. Something. These pictures, and people were stupidly buying these things, like it was a signed Babe Ruth card. I was telling my sons, I'm like, I remember when you guys used to be in Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. Like, let me tell you something right now. If Caleb would have had every one of his cards still today, there's no telling how much money he could have sold that stuff for. Like, he had binders full of stuff. He had every card. Every other day, he's like, Dad, what can I do around the house to earn some more money so I can get another pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Okay, and he did the same thing with Pokemon. He had binders of these things, binders full of them. And like, I don't know anything about them. I have no idea. Okay, but he literally just threw them all away because we moved from home to home and moved around this and that. He just threw them away. He said, I'm outgrowing them, I'm throwing them away. Now, some of you are probably thinking, oh man, you probably got this, that, and that thing. Who knows? But to me, if you don't have your house well prepared for disruption, okay, what does that mean? You're making money on your affiliate stuff. You're making money off of your trading. You're making money off of your mentorships. Hello. And you're not doing anything to fortify your house for at least 1 year. Non-perishable food, fresh drinking water, filtration systems. If you're on natural gas, get some propane tanks and get a home generator that'll run off grid. So what? You may be in an HOA and you're not allowed to do rain collection. I'd still be doing it. You can bury those things in the ground and set your rain spout up to go right down inside those 50-gallon drums. There's a way to do it, man. There's a way to do all these things. Like I said, there's going to be times when you have a choice. You can follow the rules or you can do what's best for you and your family. And we're getting real close to that right now, everywhere. And you need to have a way to defend yourself. Because what happens when this stuff that's in Minnesota or in other countries and it's marching down the street and they don't think like you think and they don't care how you think they should act and they're going to do whatever they want to do. Do you have a way to defend yourself? I'm not saying go out there looking for trouble. I'm saying if it comes knocking to your door, what do you have to respond to that? If you don't have something, you might want to take some time to procure that. So, why did I have you come in here today and listen to me? Number one, I wanted to tell you that silver was a controlled demolition because they don't have the silver. They don't have it. And it was a big cash grab. It was still algorithmic. You can go and look into price action. It's everything I taught you. I told you to take some profits off the table because it's at the right time, it's the right price, it's the right phase of the whole thing, and it would be uncivilized for you not to have taken some profits. I'm not touching it anymore. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it anymore because now it's proven it's a rattlesnake. And I don't care if it goes up to 300. I don't care. Because the next time they pull this, it's going to be like Euro and Swissy. 1 second it's here, the next it's not. And I've been saying this. That's what's coming in these markets. That's what's coming in the currency markets. That's what's coming in the index markets. That's what's coming in every asset class. Why isn't your Bitcoin going up? I thought this stuff was, independent. It's the answer to fiat. What's going on? Why didn't it run meteorically up with gold and silver? Think about it. It's not what you said it was. It's not what they pretended it was. It's struggling right now. And this is the time. This is the time it should be doing everything that it told the world it was going to be. So no, to the guys in 2015 I was talking to, and they were begging me, please, Michael, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. You're going to be so thankful. No, I'm not. I'm not touching it. And I'm not regretting any of that. I'm not regretting any of that. Gold and silver, that's fine. I'm good. Trust me on that. I'm good. I don't need to worry about that. Okay? But I can tell you this. I'm not touching metals now. Hands off. I'm not touching them. So I know a lot of you want to know what my outcome is, what my expectations are. I have no comment. I said enough to know what my view on it is now. I don't care if it goes up. I don't care if it goes down. If it goes down, it's going to be like, well, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm no longer at risk at this anymore, and I didn't hurt anybody with an expectation on it. I'm telling you, I'm absolutely 100% neutral on metals. Can they go higher? Sure they can. Can they drop? Sure they can. Am I going to tell you what I think is going to happen? No, because I don't want any of you getting hurt. Can you appreciate that? Can you understand why I said what I said there? I'm not trying to straddle the fence. I'm not claiming I'm going to be right about anything on the end of this conversation about where metals are going to go. I already told you years ago where it was going to go. I told you last summer where it was going to go. Okay? I told you that silver was going to outperform it. It did. It just straight on up. Can you appreciate me talking to you this way? There's no ego here. I'm not trying to sound smart. I'm not trying to say I told you so. I'm not going to tell you what I think is going to happen in metals because I'm going to tell you plainly, I, at this juncture, don't know. Can you appreciate honesty? Can you take it at face value when I'm being honest and telling you, if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you? Can you appreciate that? Because there's sometimes, as I've told you in the past, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you. And that's where we're at right now. We have seen that snake show its fangs. Now you know 100% manipulation's off the charts in the metals. So now they're going to punish everybody. Going to see wild price swings all over the place. Okay? And if you're offside, you can get hurt. So respect that risk. Respect that. Don't think, well, no. Because you're going to be sending me emails like I get all the time. I wish I would have listened. I just blew all my accounts. I blew all my money. Can you send me money? No. There's your blanket response. All these people around the world asking me, "Oh yeah, I was in crypto. I should have listened to you. I did this. I did that. I traded this, that. I was in natural gas. This went cut in half." First of all, I didn't tell you to do those things. And no, I'm not going to pick up your mistakes and pay for them. No, you have to learn for that. I'm not paying for other people's mistakes. When you sign those risk disclosures, when you open those accounts up, you assumed all the risk. So don't ask other people to subsidize your mistakes, your poor execution, your poor decision making. But I'm curious. What do you, as a community, you don't have to trade my stuff. I'm asking anyone that has an opinion because I'm genuinely interested. Like I'm genuinely interested in what other people's views are regarding this because it's not just trading, it's in response to if trading is taken from you. What types of things do you already have in place or would you implement as a solution or at least some way mitigating some of the pressures off of you and your family's needs that trading right now is meeting? Like, what would that be for you? So, with that, I'm going to leave you with that question, and I'll ask you to share however you want to share it. And